This exhibit here at Union Station in Winnipeg is a research project by the Winnipeg Architecture Foundation that looks at what is the modern Elizabethan era. What are the styles? What would we determine to be the style of the modern Elizabethan era of the 70 years and 7 decades that the Queen was on the throne? It is a decade-by-decade look at important projects and buildings here in the city of Winnipeg that really do define the growth and characteristics of each decade. So starting in the 1950s, we have a very strong modernist architecture legacy, and this was a very exciting time here in Winnipeg because we have the third oldest school of architecture in Canada. So what is the modern Elizabethan era? And what we're saying is it's a very warm and welcoming reflection of both Winnipeg and the architecture that embodies it. She came here, and it was under her reign that many of our very important institutions that we remember today, such as the Manitoba Centennial Concert Hall, the new Winnipeg City Hall, there's many of these institutions, even more recently, the Forks here. We have this idea of having very warm and hospitable architecture, and the Queen was obviously very fond of that because there's many records of her meeting with people and just being able to get to know who Winnipeggers are as that changed and evolved over 70 years. They may not realize that the Queen visited Winnipeg more often than most world capitals. She visited Winnipeg more than Washington, D.C. and the White House or Paris. And so she had a very special fondness for Winnipeg. The very first royal designation by Her Majesty the Queen anywhere in the world back in 1952 was to the Royal Winnipeg Ballet. And one of the very final ones that she gave was back in 2014 to Winnipeg's Aviation Museum, which is now the Royal Aviation Museum of Western Canada. People are sometimes surprised because we think, what is Winnipeg? And we are a very humble city, and yet we don't sometimes appreciate just how fantastic our architecture is. And a lot of Winnipeggers don't know how many people travel here from around the world to look at our architecture. And so that's why it's a fantastic time to look back and say, in the last 70 years, in the immense growth of Winnipeg, what would be the modern Elizabethan era and what represents that here in Winnipeg? And we really feel that Winnipeg's architecture does embody what the modern Elizabethan era will be remembered for.